We have so many stories in our lives, but our stories are not always heard. On the Hear My True Story podcast, we tell our own true stories.
Before the white car parked, our head teacher had scattered. Looking at him, I could only see his tie that was flying backwards, waving at us, and he disappeared in thin air.
I want to share my life story. I want to share my voice with the people because I know that just a small joke I can tell through this podcast, it will make someone smile.
When you ask me what I fear most in life, I would definitely respond to you and say it's fear itself.
We are fighting for togetherness. We are fighting for equal rights. We are fighting to end injustice.
You don't have to be a storyteller or writer because, guess what? Life writes the best stories.
Hear my true story.
Welcome back again to another episode of True Storytelling with me, Otako. Today, I would like to tell you a true story. This is a story about names. In Uganda, East Africa, Africa, people happen to have both African names and English names. And therefore, I would like to tell you my personal conflict about this. Why and how it was so hard for me to decide how I should be called, either by the African name or English name. I hope you enjoy my story. Growing up in Uganda, in the capital city of Kampala, I always hated to be called by my African names. And I guess now you're asking yourself, what are my African names? My African names are Mpata, Otako. And I also have English names. Rogers, Williams. When I was a young boy, I hated being called Mpata, Otako. I can tell you, whenever someone called me by my African name, we could fight. We could have problems with you. Because during my school time as a young boy, someone would insult you. They addressed you by your African family name. If you had the opportunity to learn about colonization of Africa, you would agree with me. When Europeans colonized Africa, so many things changed. The Africans who welcomed the European colonialists were called collaborators. And these collaborators lost their economic independence, lands, minerals, cultures, and traditions. But guess what? In return, they were given European names. Names like John, Paul, Mark, Edward, George, Stella, and so many other European names. For those Africans who fought against colonization of Africa were called resistors. And guess what? These Africans who fought against colonization of Africa were never rewarded with European names. So, in school, they could teach us that these people who fought against colonization were barbaric, were uncivilized. They didn't want civilization of Africa that had been brought by the Europeans. So, in my school time, I never wanted to relate with the barbaric, uncivilized Africans. Because English names or European names portrayed that you are civilized, modernized, and your family is educated, and you come from a first or second class family. But the truth, for me, I grew up from a low class family. But as a young boy, I always wanted to relate with the first class or second class family. Therefore, I always wanted to be addressed by my English names, Rogers, Williams. But one moment in my life made me love my African names. You see, in 2019, I moved to Europe and now I live in Germany. So one day I was taking a walk. Then, as I was walking, I had someone calling my name. Williams! You are so fast, please, Williams! Wait for me! Then, I stopped. Okay, Williams, come back. I looked back. I didn't know this person. I thought, where have I met this person? In my head, I was like, okay, maybe this person has ever seen me on stage doing my storytelling sessions. Maybe I met this person in my workshops. Maybe I met this person as I was going to work. So I was trying to really find, where have I met this person calling me by my name, Williams? But I decided to walk again. And then he said, please, Williams, come back, stop. Come to me here. And then I decided to walk to the person calling me. So when I reached to this person, he looked at me and I could see in his face that he really doesn't know me. And I could also see it in my face that I don't know this person. And then he was like, I'm sorry. So in that moment, I saw a small dog running towards this person, a white small dog running so fast, shaking its tail. And then the person picked the dog and said, you know what? I'm sorry. He is also called Williams. Es tut mir leid. That's in German. I'm sorry. And then I was like, okay. It's okay. I majestically walked away. My friends, this day I laughed at myself. I laughed because it made me love my African name. Now, I don't want people to call me by my English names. I want people to call me by my African name, Otako Mpata. Because you will never find a pet or a dog with African names like Otako, Onyango, Kasule, Sentamu, Kaguta, Kagame, Chagulani, Odinga, Obama. No! But you will always find pets with so many English names like Sheila, Philip, Patrick, Simon, Eric. Come on! So, I would like to say, from this personal experience, as an African living in Europe, I would like to be addressed by my African name, Otako Mpata. Thank you for listening to my story.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, Music by Edwin Matovo, hosted and produced by Otako. Subscribe to our podcast for more stories and visit us on our website, hearmytruestory.com, for more stories. All the links are listed in the show notes of this podcast.